Guys, I'm here with Dr. Christle. By the way, as all my guests, they're always way too nice to me, and I'm too much of a complete lunatic going all over the place. Dr. Crystal, if you don't know her, she has more degrees that would take the entire podcast to list off, but she's a BS in chemistry, organic chemistry. She's the osteopathic doctor, family medicine resident at Crozer Health, Pennsylvania. Sports Benefit Fellowship. She also is the production manager at RP Strength, and she has a really great social media channel and has been doing a whole bunch of podcasts. And we're super happy to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that introduction. It's just too much. Like, let's just get into like the good stuff versus like organic chemistry.
Well, listen, it is the good stuff. Well,
It
that's why
is.
that's why you're the person to talk to right here, and you can talk to knuckleheads like me and educate us. So it's a good deal. Uh, so, Dr. Crystal, first off, first thing I want to talk to you about, which I
Yeah.
think is really interesting and something that we both have some experience with, is the GLP-1s. It's something you've been taking recently. You've talked very openly about your struggle with weight loss in the
Yeah.
past. I also was obese when I was a child. I was 265 pounds of 5'6".
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
large. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, you
big
know,
boy.
a little bit, a little too much. And I ended up losing, became a professional fighter, ended up fighting at 145 pounds, so I lost like a ton of weight. But the truth is that even though there was this great success story behind the weight loss, it came with years of battles, and even battles well on to the past the point I was quote unquote fit and healthy and in
Hmm.
shape. Yo-yo dieting has always been a struggle for me, and it wasn't
Yeah.
actually till recent years that I've kind of been able to get the better of it. I won't say I passed it. I kind of look at it kind of like an ongoing thing. But I
Yeah.
tried GLP-1s for the first time, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, where's this food noise? Where did it go?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? How did this not exist my whole life? This would have made things a billion times easier. I
Yeah.
would like maybe you to give me your experience with it
Oh,
first
yeah.
and kind of your general take.
Ugh. It's I guess, I've been so open about it because I've struggled for so long, and being in the fitness space, I always felt like a low-key failure, even though I was going through medical training, even like, no matter how many accolades, things I could check off on my CV, it just this unrelenting, continuous 24/7 like hunger signaling in my brain just made it such that um it was a struggle. Like, yeah, people do see like the oh, you're doing so well. Oh, you're, a doctor. Oh, you're doing all these amazing things, but they don't see like the silent fight. Like every day is a battle for hunger. And when I finally decided to um try the GLP-1s, because I actually, when my doctor first brought up the possibility of me trying this medication, I actually said no. And so I sat on it for 2 years and really struggled with the why. I knew, like I said no, but I wasn't quite sure why. Um, and I didn't have a good reason for it. I really thought that if I just tried harder, if I just like maybe there's something I'm missing, maybe I just didn't do a good enough job with my lifestyle stuff, or maybe I'm just doing too much and I need to peel it back and really focus on my health. But then I started to realize, seeing how kind of bodybuilders, at extreme ends of a diet, contest prep, and watching them really struggle with the food noise and the hunger and the cravings, that I was just finally just sort of clicked in my head that, maybe I just have that type of signaling, and the unfortunate, fact, genetics, that I'm neither lean nor a bodybuilder or, even close. That January 2022 is when I first decided to, okay, let's do this. I'm ready to give this a try. Yeah, it was very much mind blowing for me. I was like, where has this been my whole life? Where, all the people who just say, oh, just eat a little bit less and you'll, lose weight. Like it's, losing weight's hard, but, you can, tough it out. Like it was just like none other. I was like, oh, if this is what the people who are saying weight loss is so like it's kind of tough, but like not, you should be able to handle it. Um, Man, I just had so many feelings. One, amazing, and two, just like for the people who don't understand, a lot of frustration and just rage for those people who are just like, oh, you're just lazy, you don't know, and like you're not doing the right thing, you didn't, pray before eating or whatever. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and it's been life changing. I can't imagine a world in which we have to move backwards or go without it.
Yeah, very much the same. Like I had experience from multiple angles. So one of my main job is I train clients who exclusively I'll travel with them wherever they go,
Oh
anywhere
wow.
in the world.
Oh.
So let's say I'll have two clients and I'll deal with all their doctor's appointments. Some of them are maybe on testosterone. I
Mm-hmm.
deal with all of that. And then
Mm-hmm.
at some point, GLP-1s came out because I'm in this world. I probably got a bit of a sneak peek before it became mainstream.
Yeah.
Because anything that's new and exciting, a lot of my clients are very excited and have the means to get it.
Yeah.
My first reaction was too good to be true. This is too good to be true. There's a downside to this. We don't know what it is yet. Guys, let's not go there. They obviously tried it. There was no pulling back after they tried it. Like it's the greatest thing ever. I
Yeah.
was really nervous about trying it. I was coaching clients through it. I did start seeing some patterns that I felt I could help with. So at some point I saw one of the patterns I saw within clients is some clients would take it and then they would ignore all the other diet protocols they were doing. So let's say they were no longer eating their proteins or not having any fiber in their meals. Like,
Yeah.
they're eating their meals like half a donut in the morning and then a cup of coffee in the evening, and like they're having whatever their pasta carbonara at nighttime, and then they
Yeah.
go to bed and like yeah, they're
Yeah.
dropping weight.
Right.
And in the beginning, that's awesome. And then, like, for the ladies, their backside's a little flatter than they wanted it to be, and their
Yeah.
gym things are a little down, and they're like,
Yeah.
"What's going on?" So I was like trying to counteract, and my initial worries were that.
Yeah.
But then at some point, I had a guy's come on my podcast named Dr. Dean. He's like, "Well, have you ever tried it yourself?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Why don't you give it a try?" And I was like, "All right." So I
Mm-hmm.
got
Mm-hmm.
Manjaro, I tried it, and it blew my mind. I was like, this is another level. Like
Yeah.
this is what I've been missing my whole life. How has this been gone?
Yeah. Yeah. No, the funny thing is, well, I don't know if it's funny, but I prescribed very early on prior to Ozempic semaglutide. We had liraglutide, all the earlier medications, and for diabetes, it also was like a really good way to lower people's A1C. And there were a couple of times where I tried to prescribe Saxenda, which came out in 2014 as a weight management drug. Like it was no big deal. Always insurance denied it at the time. The weight loss, the amount of weight lost with the earlier GLP-1 agonists were just kind of, not really all that impressive. And social media just wasn't where it is now. And so, looking back when, and people did great on it from a diabetes perspective. I can't really say that anybody that I had prescribed, that those medications before semaglutide was anything, striking or out of the ordinary. But I mean, for people who get very like, oh, these drugs just came on the market, it's like, no, 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 no. People, we've been working on this. The first GLP-1 agonist came out in 2000, FDA approved in 2005. So this has been an ongoing thing. This isn't like we just showed up yesterday and now all of a sudden it's like here. So I feel like people definitely, on social media sort of react and like sort of forget about the timeline of how many years it took to get to even the first GLP-1 agonist and all the things that led up to the success of Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, etc.
Yeah, I think too, I think now that it's becoming more commonly acceptable, we're also getting more proper protocols on how to deal with that. Like I'm sure some of the knowledge of yourself, like you, I see that, obviously through your social media, I follow you, which I think everybody should go do. Like I see you're posting and you're lifting weights constantly.
Yeah.
You're focusing on your diet and everything else alongside taking these things. This is an enhancer of the process.
Yeah.
It's not a replacement of the process. So I think a lot of people get that confused.
Yeah, it's a tool in the toolbox. Yeah, the lifting and the getting the protein in, getting a vegetable in, were things that I had built over time, like decades. Like the training was actually always easy for me. So I liked being strong, and there were times where I had to lean into that because of my frustration with, the diet portion, the nutrition portion. So I was like, at least if I can get a good amount of high protein in, get some vegetables in, and healthy carbs as well, and then do consistent training, at least I can be strong. I may struggle with the calories part of it, but at least I'm going to get my nutrients in. It's going to be an excess, but I'm not going to just eat, donuts and, junk, like complete junk food, and then not go to the gym. I'm going to put these calories to use, and I'm going to try and build as much muscle and get as strong as I can, in the meantime. So that was kind of where I had built up those habits. So by the time the drug became available on the market, it really was just like the Lego piece, just, missing puzzle piece, just sort of fit in like a glove.
Yeah, it really does help. Like I've been around obesity obviously for myself.
Hmm.
I've been training clients on for 15 years, so I've seen a full spectrum of struggle, and I think people really underestimate how difficult it is for people that are struggling with obesity and high food noise to get out of that cycle, to break that cycle. People are like, oh yeah, I lost 10 pounds, before my summer vacation. Like, yeah, that's super impressive, also
Yeah.
awesome, cool, but
Yeah.
you have no idea what it's like for the person that has to lose 100 pounds and
Yeah.
what they're going to have to go, the mountain they have to climb, the amount of cycles of those 10 pounds they have to go through is a completely different animal.
Yeah. I really wish there was a more, objective way of kind of measuring what somebody's, brain activity is looking like, when they're dieting. I think it would make it a lot easier for people to understand because, again, we're, talking about hunger, talking about food noise. They're like these sort of nebulous concepts that like, it's not like, like I have, on my lab work, I have a high like white blood cell count, or I have diabetes. My A1C is this. Like you have an objective like number on the thing that gives you the diagnosis, because not everybody who's obese, or yeah, obese needs to be on these drugs, or not everybody responds to these drugs too. Because I've seen a couple of, cases where people are taking this drug and they're like, it does nothing for my hunger. So I really wish there was a way to screen people to kind of see where they're at and like say, hey, like, your brain activity is like, XYZ. Like, I think you'd be a great candidate for this drug. I hope that comes in the future. I don't pay too much stock currently about like what's down the pipeline as far as like gene editing goes and all that stuff. I think I'm not necessarily a longevity expert.
Well, yeah, I like looking at it for fun sake,
Yeah.
but no, I'm in agreement. It's kind of like one of those things. I think it's similar to like if somebody has ADHD. I remember when I was diagnosed with ADHD, a lot of my friends were like, well, "What is that like?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like maybe I struggle to focus. Well, I struggle to focus in class too." And then like the conversation would go on and be like, "Maybe I have ADHD." I'm like, "I have no idea." Like
Yeah.
one, I'm not the expert in here, and it's kind of um, a softer science. So it's you're not going to be able to get like here's this X number. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Oh, your inflammation markers are through the roof. Your LDL is,
Yeah.
your triglycerides are too high. Like we got to lower them. Like it's not that simple. And I think that's one that's complicated. So it leads to more judgment. It leads to like, well, there must be the same thing I'm feeling. They're just emotionally less strong,
Yeah.
weaker, or whatever that case. There's that one superiority feeling I think some people get, and also on something I could sympathize with a little more is people are worried about putting more chemicals, more drugs into their body. Like I'm not. If someone's taking
Yeah.
testosterone and they have a problem with someone taking GLP-1, I can't even have a conversation with them. We're not talking. But if you're
Or
like,
yeah.
yeah, we're gone, we're done.
Yeah.
If you're shooting D-ball up, like I don't want to hear about your
Right.
GLP-1 problem. Like, don't worry about it. But if
Yeah.
somebody's like, I'm a 50-year-old woman and tries generally to eat healthy and tries to be quote unquote natural and take as little pills as possible. And now you're like, you could take this thing that will help me lose weight. I could truly respect and empathize with the fact that that's scary and that there's no like end date to it. Like
Yeah.
you're probably going to have to continue to take this if you want the same effects
Yeah.
for your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something I can really sympathize with. Do you ever see that with clients that that's what they're scared about when they come to you?
Yeah, yes, they do worry about that, but also I feel like the kind of patients that I have a really good working relationship with, and we have these kind of conversations. I really like to make sure that they are very much informed and have a good discussion, and so I do talk about the the possibility that this is going to be a lifetime, medication, and that's okay. What I like to do is I do give them kind of the worst case scenario in which, they may be on this drug for life, and that's okay. Um, but also I have seen other instances where people, either stop the drug because they just don't feel like it's working or feel like they, want to try it on their own. And I'm totally, totally okay with making that and, helping them navigate that informed discussion, informed choice. And then also, I just don't want them to ever feel blindsided. So, and then there's other times where because of insurance issues, they end up having to stop the drug anyway. And so, I prepare for that kind of, thing in that, hey, you may not be, you can't get this drug right now because, the copay is still like $700, which is ridiculous. But keep in mind, like, we're still working on the habits. You're still doing amazing getting to the gym 4 times a week. You're still getting your protein in. Like, let's focus on those wins. And when or if the drug becomes available, to you, let's talk about our options. So I see it, a couple different ways.
Yeah, I see. First of all, most of the clients I know that do want to get off eventually, and to be honest,
Hmm.
most of them do.
Hmm.
I tell them like, listen, that's why it's extra important. It's important for everybody, but I think it's extra important that we use this drug to make this process easier. Like, let's build in the habits now. Like,
Yeah.
if you get used to for the next 3 months that we're on this drug or 4 months, eating 3 meals a day at this portion, at this size, at this
Hmm.
time, even if your hunger increases by 10-20% and you
Yeah.
add 10-20% to those meals
Yeah.
after you get off of the drug, you'll probably end up just kind of like reverse dieting your way into like a nice healthy body
Yeah.
weight. And that doesn't mean food noise isn't going to come back. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you won't have, if you are a binge eater, that might not come out. But you do have some really good habits built in that you did have when you had the drug. And it's if as long as you're lifting weights consistently, we're building ourselves up properly, actually, you're going to be in a lot better place even after doing the drug, even if it's still a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. And for some people do, there are cases where starting the drug makes it such that they can build the habits. So I know there's also a lot of talk in the fitness space of gatekeeping this
Mhm.
medication, like, oh, you have to get your diet down first, or oh, you have to get your protein intake first, or oh, you have to start the gym first before being considered on this drug as a last resort. And it's not always black and white for me. I can never give those, like, punchy, one liner, like, this is the way it is, for that makes for a really good clip on social media. It's just
That's it. This
never.
podcast is over.
Sorry, I ruined it for you. Yeah, it's never that simple, and for a lot of people, especially particularly the general population, that, like, little bit of food noise is sometimes just the takes the edge off, such that, like, I can start going to the gym. I am now empowered to go to the gym. I'm now empowered to make these better food choices because I don't have this unrelenting, like, food noise, like, in my head that I have to fight every day. So I really just wanted to point that out because I feel like people in the fitness space, like, I try to stay away from the rage clickbait stuff, but I feel like that's also a message that gets a little convoluted. And I've seen that around in the space, such that I really wanted to just address it passive aggressively.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think it's actually hilarious to have that take. I'll put a little take out there. I think that,
Yeah.
to be honest, if you're struggling with
Yeah.
weight loss and been for a long time, taking GLP-1s could be the first step into that, because nobody likes to feel like crap after a binge and then want to go to the gym the next day.
They
But
don't.
if I could take a drug that makes me a little less hungry, helps me kick out of that situation, maybe it's a week before I go to the gym, but I feel like maybe I lost a couple pounds, even if it's just some water weight from changing my diet. I might feel a little more confident to get myself in the gym. I think people underestimate how big of a struggle it is for someone that is struggling with weight loss. At such a degree that to get into the gym and get started on these processes.
Oh my gosh. I remember trying in 2006 when I graduated from undergrad. I was 4'11, 198, a pack a day smoker. I stopped any type of exercise whatsoever. This was before I even picked up a weight. And just I remember how hard it was to put one foot in front of the other and try and figure out, like, what a vegetable was. Like, my diet was so crappy that it took me a year to kind of get used to the idea of putting a vegetable on the plate consistently. Because everything was takeout, everything was processed food, high calorie, processed, high calorie, tasty, delicious, junk food, essentially. And it just, and I try and describe that, that situation of, like, a year, and kind of give people an idea. But unless you're kind of stuck in that, um, unless you're in the thick of it, man, it's so hard to describe. And it's really hard to get out. I didn't like myself. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't know what else to do. Everything felt really hopeless. But I knew at least I'm moving in sort of a better direction than, where I was before. Like, yes, not smoking is better than smoking a pack a day. Yes, going to the gym for 10 minutes and getting winded on the elliptical is better than, not doing anything at all. But boy, it's really tough to see the forest from the trees when you are at the bottom, kind of clawing your way back up to a healthy lifestyle.
Well, Dr. Crystal, unfortunately, me out of all people has to go,
Yes,
not
no
you.
worries.
Yeah, but I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I also want to thank you for being one of I'm going to call you an influencer
Oh,
with no
God.
disrespect name.
No, it's okay.
No disrespect made to it, but you're an influencer that is coming from a perspective, that I know I can't imagine how much of a struggle it is, because I wasn't in the fitness space before, but
Yeah.
like going through it live and showing people in the process how it's actually looking, I think that's super motivating. So I'm great. I'm very grateful that you're doing this. I'm gonna keep being a fan and cheering you
Oh,
on from the side. And if you ever want to come back on this podcast and get annoyed by my last minute canceling,
yeah.
you're always welcome.
It's all good. I love just a casual conversation. I love this format. So yeah, please, would love to do this again in the future. So let me know when you're kind of got some time in between flying all over the place, doing amazing things. So hit me
Okay.
up.
Thank you, Doctor. Talk soon.
Take care. Bye.